Tonight on Elon Local News.
Behind the backpacks, we look at the meaning behind today's exhibit on Young Commons.
Finding closure. It's been a year since a violent march in Graham, and those who attended are still angry.
A new class, 6 former Phoenix will be inducted into the Elon Hall of Fame this weekend. We'll have more on how to be inducted.
Those stories and more.
Elon Local News starts now.
Live from the Jane and Brian Williams studio at Elon University School of Communications, you are watching Elon Local News.
Well, good evening and welcome to Elon Local News. I'm Baylor Rodman.
And I'm Chloe Franklin. We begin tonight with a look at this year's local elections. Tomorrow, voters will be heading to the polls to cast their ballots in the local election. Elon News Network is following the town of Elon mayoral and Board of Aldermen races and the Burlington mayoral and city council races. Current Elon Alderwoman Emily Sharp and Elon resident Michael Woods are both campaigning for mayor, while staff member Stephanie Borland and senior pastor of Elon Community Church Randy Orwig are campaigning for 2 open seats on the Board of Aldermen. Last month's primary election determined that incumbent Ian Baltudis and City Councilman Jim Butler would be the 2 candidates moving on in the Burlington mayoral race. The primary also decided the top 4 candidates moving on for Burlington City Council. Ronnie Wall, Daywana Bigelow, Harold Owen, and Bob Bird are the 4 candidates running for 2 open seats on the City Council.
If you're registered to vote in Elon or Burlington and plan on voting in person tomorrow, there's a few details you need to know before you go to the polls. They will open for Election Day tomorrow, all beginning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern and closing at 7:30 p.m. There are 5 locations in the town of Elon and 18 locations in the city of Burlington where you can go to cast your choice. All of the locations are either community centers, churches, or schools. To find out the location of your polling place, go to the North Carolina Board of Elections Polling Place Search website, which is listed on your screen, and confirm your polling place before you leave to vote. It's important to note that the Elon campus is divided into 2 precincts. For more information on which polling location to visit and all of the day of details, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
And now that you've seen where you can vote, it's important to know why it matters. Political science professor Carrie Eves says students should remember that just as much is at stake on the local level as there is when there's a state or national election.
So I'll say students should vote in all local elections. You should vote anytime the polls are open. We in Elon Votes do not tell students where they should vote. It's up to students to decide whether they should register here at Elon or back at home.
As if you're registered at Elon, heading to the polls on Election Day does impact your community.
If you happen to choose to be registered here at Elon, though, we do want you to vote. You should care about those who are leading this community because you're a part of this community and you should want to make it better, and voting is a way to stand up and make your voice heard.
For live updates and results of tomorrow's elections in Elon and Burlington, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
And beyond city limits, the nation is keeping a close eye on the gubernatorial races in both New Jersey and Virginia. In the Garden State, incumbent Democrat Phil Murphy leads his opponent, Republican businessman and former state assemblyman Jack Citarelli, by about 8 points, where the top issues amongst voters continues to be the state's handling of COVID and tax hikes. But it's a much tighter race in the Commonwealth of Virginia, where Republican Glenn Youngkin leads Democrat Terry McAuliffe by 2 points. The two are crisscrossing the state to make their final pitch to voters, with parents' say in their child's education being the front and center issue.
As Election Day nears, some Alamance County residents remember a violent clash between protesters and police exactly 1 year ago yesterday. Our Kira O'Connor spoke with some who say the March to the Polls event left them traumatized.
If they weren't on the receiving end of that trauma, if they weren't pepper sprayed, if they did not choke that day, if the eyes weren't burning that day, or watching it happen, even if they were on the outskirts to see it and not know how to respond to that, you can't move forward.
Faith Cook was one of hundreds who marched in Alamance County last year in a March to the Polls event. The peaceful march ended in chaos, leaving many involved confused, angry, and hurt. For Elon students Tim Olson and Hannah Garcia, forgetting the events of the march was nearly impossible. The pair were arrested that day, but were not found guilty until August 2021.
Every single person that was in there will remember that day. It'll be ingrained into their memories. Yet there will be no real proof of it in the policies of Graham.
You can move forward, but you can't forget about it. So to act like it never happened is not fair. To think that that day isn't going to affect people's lives forever.
Cook said while being pepper sprayed and experiencing what she did last October greatly impacted her, she will continue to advocate and protest.
Now that I've exhaled, let me get back on my fighting shoes. Let me get my fighting gloves back on and say, let's get back out there and make some noise.
Kira O'Connor, Elon Local News.
To hear more about the year since the march to the polls for Alamance County residents, pick up a copy of this week's Pendulum.
And it's homecoming week. We'll hear from alumni returning to campus when we return. Stay close.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know wherever you are.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Hamilton was adopted from a rescue in 2008. He really likes to be around people. And as soon as I start to make my breakfast, Hamilton is right there. I get out my mat and I'm doing a downward dog and he's underneath. He's quite the pug about town. He gets invited to a lot of parties. He knows he's a pretty big deal. I mean, look at this little face. How could you not love him?
What do you think you're doing, Kevin?
Was just gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
Like hearing voices?
Like your text-to-emoji ratio?
Oh man, the selfies.
Selfie. Nailed it. We all have warning signs that let us know that we're probably not okay to drive. Mine is pretending to be your subconscious.
Craig, come on man, let's put a ride home.
Well, homecoming is usually a time of tradition and old memories, but this year's festivities are bringing back a new class of graduates and new relationships. Our Ellis Chandler has more.
For 2021 graduate Allie Reardon, returning to campus feels like it should only be a semester away.
I think it's going to be weird, especially because obviously my last year here was very different than normal, and now hopefully it's a little bit more what I'm used to.
Reardon works in New York City and is attending homecoming with other alumni who live there. And they even booked the same flight.
I was kind of in the mindset that I'd be coming back to Elon like in the winter for next semester, but I'm slowly starting to get used to it.
For other Elon alumni, this year's homecoming won't be their first. Michelle Adams and Michael Muniz graduated in 1993. The two were friends during their time at Elon, but lost touch after graduation. The two rekindled their friendship 2 years ago at homecoming.
And so that's what kind of got the dialogue started with us at the time in 2019. And so that was the first time I had seen him since college in 1993.
This year, they're attending as a couple.
So I did keep tabs on her. I did stalk her quite a bit. Took me a long time to get here.
Well, I was living in Texas
That's
for
right,
almost 8
that's right.
years. So we
Yeah.
were,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of, quite a few states and a lot of miles between us too during that time.
The couple say they're excited to see friends in person that they stay in touch with.
You know, when you get to Elon and you get around people and, you know, a lot of those memories come back and, you know, it's just nice to be able to come back and kind of see how how we all grew up.
Muniz says he appreciates homecoming more when he doesn't attend every year. Ellis Chandler, Elon Local News.
Returning alumni should register by 11:59 p.m. this Wednesday if they plan on attending the weekend's festivities.
Today marks the deadline for binding early decision and non-binding early action applications for the class of 2026. Over the past 10 years, the admission rate has increased by 23%. It is now sitting at around 70%. Vice President for Enrollment Greg Zeiser wrote in an email to ENN that Elon is not concerned about the high acceptance rate because it helps to fill the freshman class and cohorts like the Fellows, Scholars, and Odyssey programs. None of Elon's 6 Fellows programs for the class of 2025 have met their capacity limit. Looking at last year's numbers, just over 13,000 students were accepted. Of those, only around 1,500 enrolled and now make up the freshman class. As of this morning, about 23% more students have applied early decision this year versus last year, and 3% more have applied early action. Students who applied early action or early decision should be notified of their potential acceptance in December.
The FDA is delaying their decision on whether to make Moderna's coronavirus vaccine available to 12 to 17-year-olds, as the agency says it needs more time to evaluate if the shot increases the risk of a rare cardiac side effect. FDA officials say that it will be under review until at least January.
Dean of Students Janalyn Patterson says she and other staff members are still verifying several hundred uploads of flu shot documentation from students, and they've yet to receive attendance numbers from the 2 clinics they added last week. She says administrative action like deactivating Phoenix cards won't be taken until all the records they have are uploaded and verified. Students who did not comply with the deadline will hear from the university beginning next week.
American Airlines canceled a quarter of its entire schedule yesterday and over 1,500 flights this weekend alone. The airline blamed high winds in the west and staffing shortages across the country for the chaos at check-in. With less planes in the air, consumers are likely to be charged more, leaving students worried about their Thanksgiving airfare. Sophomore Annie Christensen says that she's worried about high prices and finding a flight home.
As like a college student, like you have to worry about like the prices of like literally everything, and like I'm like nervous, I guess, like when I like do make a flight, like if like the prices are going to be high, because like I feel like prices are higher when you like get it like closer to the date.
American Airlines has said they will continue hiring new positions towards the end of the year in anticipation for high holiday travel. And coming up, homecoming, football, CAA drama, and more. We've got it all coming up after the break.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you help me with this? My new dad teaches me all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
He helps me with homework.
That would be 3.6795.
Thanks.
Yep.
He helps me with my decision making.
I wouldn't use this one. Ever.
And he's even teaching me how to drive.
And that's why cars have bumpers.
I'm learning so much.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you.
getting that college education. What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else? Or will you dare do something different? Like be a teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills. The smarts? Yes, you. You could be the teacher I never forget. That'd be cool. Does that corporate job even have recess? What are you gonna make of yourself? What are you gonna make of me?
Bye-bye.
Hi. Hoping for a crisp breeze to help keep you alert. Oh, he took a sip of water too. That'll probably help. You were probably gonna turn down the radio too, so you could focus, right?
Probably okay isn't okay.
Right.
If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
I think the water line is what really drove it home. I blew on him.
You're watching Elon Local News.
Class registration begins Friday, and with students registering for both winter term and spring courses, we're going to break down the basics of how to register for classes. The first step is to log onto OnTrack and select Register for Sections. By this time, you should have all of your classes put into your cart. If you don't, you can check the boxes for possible classes you may want to take next semester. About 10 minutes before your registration time, go on OnTrack and select Register and drop sections. Choose Register under the Actions drop-down menu for all relevant sections you wish to enroll in. It's important to keep refreshing the page during this time so you aren't logged out and risk missing your registration time. When the clock hits your time, click Submit immediately. Now, if you get into all your desired classes, you're done after this step. If not, repeat what we've just went over with different courses, and make sure to either waitlist yourself or remove the course from your cart if it's at capacity. It's also important to make sure you've met with your academic advisor prior to registration so you're approved to register for classes. This is the last time Elon will be using this registration system, as the newly announced one will be implemented in the spring for fall of 2022 registration. More information on that system can be found on our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
And as students are preparing for course registration, some are getting ready for their spring semester abroad. The Global Education Center says there are currently 238 undergraduate students accepted into spring 2020 abroad programs. In spring 2021, only 44 students were able to go abroad due to lingering COVID restrictions on travel. In 2019 and 2020, over 200 students went abroad. But in 2020, the abroad experience was cut short. Director of Study Abroad Bill Burris says students will have to remain flexible as things continue to change.
There will be no Greek dance this semester, according to Associate Director of Student Involvement Jordan King. King says there were scheduling conflicts trying to secure Shar Center as a venue, but he understands why students might be disappointed.
A lot of times you have to kind of make some difficult decisions, just like a couple years ago when we actually decided to move the event from the spring to the fall. There are a lot of factors that went into play. We did our best to explain it to those students, but we also know that there are some people who are upset about that, and rightfully so.
King says planning for next year's Greek dance should begin this spring.
As campus prepares for homecoming, Elon Athletics will be welcoming 6 former Phoenix back to campus to be inducted into the Elon Hall of Fame. 3 inductees are from the Hall of Fame class of 2020, whose ceremony was canceled due to the pandemic, and the other 3 are from this year's class. All 6 inductees are from different sports, with graduation years ranging from 2004 to 2011. Elon Athletics spokesman Jason Knavel says that to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, you must show excellence in your time at Elon with athletics and academics, as well as continuing to carry out Elon's mission and spirit post-graduation. Knavel says that he is looking forward to hearing the stories of the inductees and seeing all of them in person.
Watching them interact with the other Hall of Famers is really cool, because sometimes they didn't know each other. Sometimes they did. Sometimes they were in school together as well. But the opportunity for them to kind of have shared experiences of excelling in a sport, whether they were here at the same time or not, and just watching them interact with each other is really cool.
The ceremony will be held this Saturday at 11 a.m. in Shar Center.
The Hall of Fame class will also be honored at Elon's homecoming football game Saturday. The Phoenix will take on the Villanova University Wildcats at Rhodes Stadium. Head coach Tony Trisciani says he is excited to celebrate them and past Elon championship teams this weekend.
It means a lot to us to play at home, and we want to deliver a victory at home for our fans and our family on homecoming and honoring the national championship teams. We want to come out here and we want to play well and get a big win on Rhodes Stadium.
Villanova is currently ranked 10th in the football championship subdivision. Offensive lineman Nick Caramelli says the Wildcats' size will test the Phoenix.
You know, they offer a good challenge. They got a good defense. Got really strong guys in the middle, so it'll be fun for our O-line.
Kickoff is set for 2 p.m. For post-game coverage, visit our website at elonnewsnetwork.com.
Trisciani also spoke to us about the expectation of James Madison University to leave the Colonial Athletic Association after the 2022 season. The move was unanimously approved by JMU's Board of Visitors, and if approved by the state, it will join the Sun Belt Conference with schools like Appalachian State and Coastal Carolina.
When I walked out of Bridgeforth Stadium in the locker room on Saturday, I kind of peeked into the stadium and looked around and said, I might not be back here for a while.
James Madison will present its final plan for approval to the state of Virginia on Friday.
Coming up, trick-or-treaters came to campus last night for Halloween celebrations.
A stack of resumes and you come to mind. This is it. First impression. My way in. But can my resume show you how I truly stand out? Like that I was studying, going to night school while working 2 jobs just to help my parents pay for groceries. Or being the first one to always step up. No, that's something you just can't put on paper. Look beyond the resume and discover new ways to develop great talent that is dedicated, hardworking, and determined like me.
Open road, here comes the Heffley family.
Whether it's a short trip or a long haul.
Estimated time, 47 hours.
They will beg.
You're hungry? I'm happy to provide.
They will plead.
Deep fried butter on a stick.
But whatever you do, don't wimp out.
Now you're talking.
Make them buckle up.
He can't hurt.
Remember, safety first. Cheese curls second.
Are you orange?
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a 4th ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As you walk to class today, you may have seen backpacks spread on the ground across Young Commons. Our Anne-Marie Bonner has more on their meaning.
Backpacks, filled with stories of survival and loss. Active Minds National circulates the Send Silence Packing exhibit to colleges nationwide. The goal, to encourage students to talk about mental health and seek out help from professionals. Active Minds President Georgia Stoddard says this event is more important than ever.
We have academics, and I'm a senior, and we have the future. It's so close, and we have personal relationships, and there's so much happening all at once. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed, to feel lost, to feel hopeless.
Tour coordinator for Active Minds, Aaron Plattis, has traveled to over a dozen schools this semester and says he wants college students to know that suicide is a prevalent issue.
This is a thing that happens to people, and it shouldn't be stigmatized. It should be talked about, because the more that you talk about something, the more that people feel comfortable reaching out, leaning on their support systems, and trying to stop things before they get to this point.
For Stoddard, it's about helping a student who may be suffering in silence.
This campus would not be the same without the students here. Even losing one student changes the culture, and so I just think it's important for people to remember that the world needs you here, and you're important and you're loved.
Anne-Marie Bonner, Elon Local News.
By the display today and want to seek professional support, there are many resources you can use, like Elon's new 24/7 mental health resource, Timely Care, by going to timelycare.com or by calling the crisis counselor on call at 336-278-2222. All right, it's 25 minutes after the hour now, and our Jenna Mandarioli joins us on Citroen Plaza with a live look at the weather ahead.
Jenna, good evening to you.
Good evening, Chloe and Baylor. I took a stroll around campus earlier today, and it was gorgeous out. There were lots of students out and about, and you can really see that the leaves are starting to change on the trees. But unfortunately, we're going to start to see a drop in the temperatures as we enter the month of November. Now for your Phoenix 5-day forecast. There will only be one day this week that's in the 60s, and that is tomorrow. So try to take advantage of that warmer weather before we see the rest of the week drop into the low 50s. The sun will stick around a little bit on Wednesday, but on Thursday we will see rain and clouds. This pattern will continue into Friday with potential rain and still low 50s. But luckily on Saturday for the homecoming football game and alumni weekend, we will see abundance of sunshine and a high of 55 degrees. That's it for your Phoenix 5-day. Back to you guys in the studio.
Jenna, thank you.
I got to tell you, Chloe, walking around campus today, it felt good.
I know.
To put that extra layer on. We got rid of that 85-degree humidity. It only took till November 1st, but fall is finally here.
Right, that North Carolina weather, that's so confusing. But I love when it's cold like this. It's so pretty outside.
It is.
It's great.
November 1st is great for me because it means one thing. It means Halloween is over, but it means it's not my favorite time of year. But again, you start to see the leaves change. I mean, I really didn't notice it until honestly we saw that video.
Yeah.
And you really started to see the trees and the leaves change and that North Carolina blue sky, and it's all just stunning.
Right.
It's my favorite time of year down here.
I definitely agree. And giving tours this year, it's so nice giving tours in the morning, and it's just so great. The prospective students love it, parents love it, I love it.
Families are seeing what the Elon weather is all about this week, that's for sure. But you know what was also great weather was yesterday, Halloween. It was great time trick-or-treating for the kids walking around campus. And before we close the show, we've got some highlights from yesterday's trick-or-treating events in the Loy and Station at Mill Point neighborhoods. All right, well, I know I said I'm not a huge fan of Halloween, but that was cute, so I'll give it that.
I agree. All the kids in their cute costumes.
Sure.
My roommate and I dressed up as Clueless this year.
Oh, very nice.
We're big into Halloween. I can't believe you don't like it.
I know. It's not my favorite of them all, but it warms my heart to see all the kids doing that around campus. That is one of my favorite community traditions. I think that we do. Seeing all the Elon families and kids interacting. with students, faculty, university police officers. It's
Agreed. And with COVID lately, it's nice that they got to go out and do it and still be safe at the same time. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, on that good news note, that's all the news we have for you this evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
For all the news you need to know when we're not on the air, visit our website, elonnewsnetwork.com.
And be sure to follow us across all social media platforms at Elon News Network.
We'll see you right back here Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern for another edition of ELN Morning.
In the meantime, have a great night, Elon.